Branding is everything as a superhero. You want to be famous, you gotta have brand recognition. Superman, boom, you got your super strength, flight, and heat vision. Deadpool, boom, you got your regeneration and fourth wall breaking. Batman, boom, you got money.
I'm rich.
However, many famous superhero characters have lesser known powers and abilities that fly under the radar for most people. Even some characters that you may think of as being very one-dimensional in terms of their powers and abilities actually possess far more interesting powers that they've only displayed on a handful of occasions. So with that in mind, I will, for What Culture, back from noticing how damn fine you're looking today, to tell you about 10 powers you probably didn't know famous comic characters possessed. Number 10, the Green Lanterns, time travel. Kyle Rayner, Hal Jordan, John Stewart, Guy Gardner, and many more individuals on Earth and across the galaxy have wielded a Green Lantern ring. Generally, they're automatically provided with a powerful energy shield, can fly and augment their own physical statistics, and most prominently, have the ability to create extremely durable constructs of pure energy by using the force of their own will and their imagination. But did you know that Green Lanterns have altogether more exotic abilities at their disposal? Prior to the huge Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline in the mid-1980s, time travel was actually a fairly regularly used power by all Green Lanterns. Indeed, for Green Lanterns, time could be traveled through, slowed down, sped up, and indeed stopped. But since during Crisis, DC nerfed pretty much their entire comic roster, it's become a much less frequently used power. And the only way they can travel to new points in time is by joining forces and using multiple rings. Number 9, Flash, the Infinite Mass Punch. Although Flash is getting a bit more respect nowadays, there's still plenty of people who think he's just a dude who runs fast. In fact, he's straight up broken when he's on form. Between the Flashes, they possess a number of other powers and abilities beyond just speed. These include the ability to vibrate their bodies through solid objects, effectively making themselves intangible, vibrate the molecules of objects and beings so fast they can explode, fly/traverse the universe, and perhaps most impressively, utilize an incredibly powerful offensive move called the Infinite Mass Punch. Wally West exhibited this particular power when he was traveling close to the speed of light. He acquired the relative mass at such speed in order to dish out blows which could hit with the force of a white dwarf star, allowing him to hurt characters with even the most formidable durability, because force equals mass times acceleration, and Flash can accelerate a hell of a lot. Number 8, Sentry, Molecular Control. The Sentry, Robert Reynolds, was essentially made as one of the many Superman analogues that can be found scattered throughout comic history. As such, he's generally known for being a hero in a tight-fitting outfit and cape who possesses superhuman strength, durability, and speed. However, the man with the power of a million exploding suns has a lot more to him than that. He's also extremely potent at molecular manipulation. Owen Reese, the Molecule Man, is generally seen as the master of this ability. He's used his power to alter the composition of items like Thor's hammer, the Silver Surfer's board, Captain America's shield, Iron Man's armor, and even manipulated a portion of the Beyonder's power that was powerful enough to create an entire new universe. He's even feared by powerful cosmic entities like Uatu the Watcher, who sees Reese as a threat to the entire multiverse. That said, Sentry beat him at his own game. After Molecule Man destroyed his body, he was able to reform it, and Molecule Man was unable to keep him down. Peak Sentry is OP as hell. Number 7, the Mandarin, various powers. Most people think of the Mandarin as a mere martial artist with some overpowered bling. They may think that his rings enable him to fire energy blasts for destructive purposes, and they can, but they also grant him a whole host of far more exotic powers that those people didn't even know about. For starters, you've got the power of telepathy/mind control. The Mento Intensifier ring increases the natural psionic power of the wearer, and as a result, Mandarin has been able to control groups of people and even counter a telepathic attack by Psylocke. He can also animate inanimate matter using the Matter Rearranger ring. He was able to bring statues and indeed a mountain to life and use them as henchmen to fight Iron Man. His Vortex Beam ring allows him to fly and grants him the ability to create suction vortexes and water spouts. His Black Light ring grants him control over the Marvel Comics force known as the Dark Force, and as such, he can create areas of pure blackness and even traverse dimensions. Those are just 4 of the 10 rings he wears, so you get the point. The Mandarin is an extremely powerful and versatile character. Maybe one day we'll finally get to see a real version of him in the MCU. Maybe. Number 6. Magneto, wormhole creation. Magneto is the master of magnetism. He controls metal, it's true. He is also actually one of the most powerful humanoid characters in Marvel's universe. Sure, he can control metal, but his control over magnetism goes much, much deeper than just being able to manipulate metal objects. He can create powerful magnetic force fields that protect him from the likes of Thor's hammer and nuclear blasts, create extremely powerful electromagnetic pulses, and generate and manipulate electromagnetic energy down to a photonic level. However, he has also, on a number of occasions, created wormholes. Using these wormholes, he's teleported both himself and other characters safely from one place to another. He's a master of magnetism, sure, but he's a lot more besides. Number 5. Doctor Doom, various powers. You may think that Doctor Doom is all about planning and preparation, and dude, yeah, his prep is like Batman levels of insane, but his standard armor that he wears all the time grants him an array of powers you probably didn't even realize he had. Take a look at the panel that's popping up on screen right now. Doom has been wrapped up in Reed Richards' elastic arm when, out of nowhere, Reed began to freeze. Doom's built-in refrigeration unit was responsible for this. It also keeps his ice cream cones from melting on even the most clement of midsummer evenings. Doom also has an inbuilt force field in his armor, which has allowed him to take hits from Thor and survive the harsh energies of the Beyonder's dimension. Contrary to the armor's freezing abilities, the armor can also generate massive electric shocks on contact with opponents. Also, the armor is a self-supporting entity, featuring internal stores and recycling systems for air, food, water, and even energy, enabling Doom to survive lengthy periods of exposure underwater or in outer space. Dude, no kidding, it's even got remnants of the true cross merged with it, so that vampires can't get too close to him. On top of that, Doom possesses powerful magic casting abilities. In fact, he's arguably the second most powerful sorcerer on Earth, behind Doctor Strange himself. His armor even enables him to auto-cast certain spells without saying a word, such as the famous and crazy powerful Crimson Bands of Cyttorak, which are magical restraints capable of holding beings as strong as the Hulk. Essentially, Doom's armor makes him ready for almost anything, except apparently a decent portrayal in a cinematic film. Number 4. Gorilla Grodd, drawing power from primates. Gorilla Grodd is essentially a telepathic ape, and he started off as a very normal, everyday primate. Depending on the comic book era, he was granted telepathic powers by the pilot of a spaceship that landed in the African jungle, or by a radioactive meteor that he had been exposed to. Generally, telepaths possess the ability to mind control other sentient beings, and given the psionic nature of their powers, often possess the power of telekinesis as well. Grodd possesses both of these abilities, but did you know that he can also increase his powers by means of another power that allows him to assimilate the brain power of other primates around the world? This power gives him an enormous amping, allowing him to tangle telepathically with characters that are normally well outside of his pay grade. So when it comes to a fight, he ain't just monkeying around. Get it? 'Cause he's a monkey! Number 3. Thor, the Anti-Force. Thor is generally a well-known character across the globe, from his origins in Norse mythology to his iconic comic book depiction and his recent movie portrayal by Chris Hemsworth. He is basically a household name. When you think of the god in question, you think of a muscle-bound warrior who's incredibly strong and durable, who carries around his signature warhammer, and who can summon lightning for all sorts of offensive purposes, all of which have been depicted, for example, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But did you know that the comic book version possesses a host of other abilities? Introducing the Anti-Force. As well as possessing the offensive energy attack known as the God Blast, which is far more well known, Thor can also fire the Anti-Force from his famous hammer. The Anti-Force is a wide-angled blast of energy which has been known to take out entire armies in a single shot, without Thor needing to use up as much of his own energy and draining himself in the same way the God Blast requires him to do. Number 2. Deadpool, telepathic immunity. So you probably think Deadpool's powers are sort of limited to the ones that's been displayed in recent comics and movies. Insane regeneration, increased strength and reflexes, fourth wall breaking if that counts as a power, and yeah, he can do all those things, but he has a pretty interesting additional, if not a bit inconsistent power as well, telepathic immunity. So the way it works is that his healing factor causes his brain cells to be in a constant state of flux and regeneration, rendering him immune to psychics such as Professor X and Emma Frost. Another often suggested explanation is that Deadpool's mind is such a mess of madness, disease, and fourth wall breaking that it's simply too complex for most psychics to handle. Although it was made a point of being one of his powers in the Cable and Deadpool run, more recently his telepathic resistances have come into question. He's been mind controlled since by Shadow King, so being one of Deadpool's more obscure powers means writers can get away with forgetting it should the story call for it. But you never know, it could crop up later on in a Deadpool film or something like that. Number 1. Superman. Super intelligence. Hey look kids, it's Superman! The classic superhero. He can fly, he's extremely strong and durable, very quick, and has X-ray vision, heat vision, and freeze breath. Some of those powers are quite out there in themselves, but pretty much everyone knows that he possesses them. One thing that very few people associate the Man of Steel with though is a genius intellect, but he certainly has one, even if he doesn't admit it himself. The Kryptonian's brain is capable of processing information extremely efficiently and quickly, and as a result, it's kind of like a souped up computer processor and hard drive. He's basically a walking Alpha Zero who can kick your ass and steal your girl. Not that he would, because he's also a total bro. He can recall and recite even the most complex information in a fraction of a second, and check this out, he can remember and draw a picture of the inside of a brain to the standard of an MRI scan. So yeah, the dude is hella strong, but he also fights hella smart.